Welcome back to the Ironwood Network. This is a theories and evidence video. Before we begin, please note that this video only accounts for George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire books, and is not related to the HBO television series Game of Thrones. Our channel and our podcast are strictly book-driven, and we do not take the TV show as canon for anything related to George's world of Ice and Fire. Today I'm going to discuss the N+A = J theory, which, in case you're unfamiliar, posits that Ned Stark and Ashara Dayne are the true parents of Jon Snow, and more importantly, that the two were married, making Jon Snow a true-born son of Ned Stark, and in fact Ned Stark's firstborn son, and therefore the rightful heir to Winterfell, and the likely future King in the North. Now, N+A = J is not my theory. It's been around for years. However, I was convinced of the truth of N+A = J after reading the books and by YouTube channel Order of the Greenhand, who have put together an amazing series of videos breaking down all of the textual evidence pointing to Ashara Dayne and Ned Stark being Jon Snow's parents. I will not attempt to break down the entire theory. If you're interested in that, please check out the Order of the Greenhand's channel, as my summation could never do justice to the series of videos that they put together on the subject. I, however, do believe that I have come across new information and evidence that supports the N+A = J theory, and that I feel ties the entire theory into a nice, neat bow. I am here to break down that new evidence for you today. We need to begin with a quote from George himself. George said that until he knows a character's name, he doesn't know who they really are, and can't even begin to write them. This tells me that George is very careful when naming his characters, and that when he names them, we should take note, because the name is going to be critical to understanding who that character is, what they symbolize in the story, and how they interact with the world around them. I believe that I have stumbled upon the etymology that George used when creating the name for his character, Ashara Dayne. In this story, Ashara has several rumors being told about her through Westeros. That she had given birth to a stillborn, that she had given birth to a living child that was taken away from her, or that she was spurned by the man she loved, and at the end of all three, she killed herself by jumping off the Pale Sword Tower in Dorne. It is also clear that after jumping, Lady Dayne's body was never recovered, so she is simply gone. There is a lot of great information regarding Ashara Dayne scattered throughout the books, and I strongly recommend that you watch the full N+A = J theory breakdown videos after this video to get a full sense of the story. However, while researching a separate project, I was doing some reading on ancient Babylonian goddess of love and fertility, Ishtar, and came across some surprising and interesting information. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar is also referred to as Ashara, spelled Ishara, specifically in the scenes related to sacred marriage rituals. My interest was piqued, so I did a little bit of digging into the goddess Ashara. It turns out that she was an ancient Syrian fertility and love goddess who was also worshipped as the goddess of oaths, and that she had the power to punish oath breakers. Additionally, the graphical representation of her name throughout Syria, the character Ama is used. Ama is the character for the word mother. This means that the goddess Ashara is an ancient goddess of love and fertility, as well as oaths, and that she is directly tied to motherhood and to the sacred ritual of marriage. Now yes, all of that is terribly interesting, but really, what does it have to do with the character in our books, Ashara Dayne? Well, in at least one surviving ancient Syrian document, a treaty, the name of the goddess Ashara is actually spelled as Ashara, Ashara, as in Ashara Dayne. So what we have in the ancient mythology of our world is a goddess named Ashara, a goddess of love, fertility, and oaths, a goddess specifically tied to motherhood and to marriage rituals. And remember what George said about the names of his characters. If he can't find the right name for a character, he doesn't know who they are and can't begin to write them. Given everything that we know about Ashara Dayne in the books, and the history of the name Ashara that I was able to dig up from our own world, I'm left to ponder a couple of questions. Question 1. Would a character named for a fertility goddess with direct ties to motherhood actually never give birth to a living child of her own? And question 2. Would a character painstakingly named after a goddess of love, who is also the goddess of oaths, and who is directly tied to the sacred rituals of marriage, never have a real love story of her own, or a marriage for that matter? In case you can't tell by my tone, I believe the answer to these questions is not bloody likely. In fact, given the depths of misery that haunt many characters in George's world, it seems far more likely to me that Ashara Dayne would actually have all of these things. Love, romance, marriage, and a child, but then have them all stripped away by a series of tragic events that were well beyond her control. In review, Ashara is the name of an ancient Syrian goddess of love, fertility, and oaths, who is directly tied to motherhood and the sacred rituals of marriage. In the N+A J Theory, Ned Stark and Ashara Dayne have a romance after meeting at the tourney of Harrenhal. They get married, conceive Jon Snow, but then have their future together ripped away when the circumstances of Robert's rebellion force Ned to break his oath to Ashara and marry Catelyn Tully, and to take Jon Snow in with him and raise him as a bastard son instead of as the true-born son that he truly is. But then what happened to Ashara Dayne after all of this? Well, one theory is that she survived, and is currently back in our story traveling around with Aegon and Jon Connington under the assumed name Septa Lemore. And it just so happens that while digging through the new evidence for this video, I also came across some additional evidence that supports that theory, which will be the topic for our next video, so be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, I will post all of the notes and sources for this video on our website, www.iceandfirepod.com, so you can head over there and take a look at it all if you're interested. For now, please like and subscribe to get more of our great content, including more YouTube videos that we're putting out as fast as we possibly can, and check out our main show, the Ironwood Network Book Club Podcast, which you can find on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. In the podcast, we are currently breaking down the symbolism, themes, characters, and the story of A Song of Ice and Fire chapter by chapter, and it's great to listen to. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.